Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Some of you have been asking me which are the sacred months as per the Quran. Now, I personally prefer using the term restricted or forbidden months. And it's interesting to note that this type of question is always asked by traditional Muslims also, because they say that if the Quran is fully detailed, where are the names of these restricted months in the Quran? And they need to understand is that the reason why they're not in the Quran is not because the Quran is lacking, but rather it's because we, the humans, are lacking the understanding of what the Quran is actually talking about. So let's take this from the very top. Let's go to Surah 9, verse 36, where it says, إِنَّ عِدَّةُ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ إِثْنَا عَشَرَ شَهْرًا. The count of the months at God are 12 months. So there are 12 months. مِنْهَا أَرْبَعَةٌ حُرُمٌ. From them, 4 are restricted or forbidden. God calls them hurum. Hurum comes from the word haram, which means forbidden or restricted. So as we can see, there are 12 months. 4 of those months are considered forbidden or restricted. Now the question is, why are they called forbidden or restricted? And the answer is twofold in the Quran. The first reason is because fighting is not allowed. Here it says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الشَّهْرِ الْحَرَامِ قِتَالٍ فِيهِ قُلْ قِتَالٌ فِيهِ كَبِيرٌ. They ask you about fighting during the restricted month. Say, fighting in it is deplorable. قِتَالٌ فِيهِ كَبِيرٌ. Fighting in it is large. So the Prophet said large. And why did he use the term large? It's because the title of the month already is restricted or forbidden, and they're asking about fighting in a forbidden month. He said large, meaning a large sin or a large prohibition. So this indicates that the first reason why that the restricted months are called restricted is because fighting is not allowed. Now the second reason is found in Surah 5 verse 1, where hunting is not allowed. غَيْرَ مُحِلِّ الصَّيْدِ وَأَنْتُمْ حُرُمْ. While you are in a state of hurum, restriction. So being in a state of restriction is that you are within the 4 prohibited months, indicating that you are not allowed to hunt wild game. So again, the reason why they are called restricted months is because fighting is not allowed, okay? Fighting is not allowed, and hunting is not allowed, okay? So those are the 2 reasons why they're called restricted months. Now, another thing I want to point out for you guys is that these restricted months are consecutive. They come one after the other. Traditional Muslims say there are 3 consecutive months, and the 4th one is isolated, but this is not in concordance with the Quran. In Surah 9 verse 5, God says, فَإِذَا انْسَلَخَ الْأَشْهُرُ الْحُرُمُ. When the restricted months have انسلخ. Look, God uses the term انسلخ, okay, which is translated as past, which is fine, but we need to be specific here. Salaha means the gradual removal of skin. Arabs used to use this term when they would skin an animal, and the skin comes off as one piece. So this indicates that the salaha of the restricted months is one piece. Okay, they're one after the other. They're consecutive. Another piece of evidence of this is found in Surah 2 verse 194, where it says, الشهر الحرام بالشهر الحرام. The restricted month with the restricted month. Note this preposition, bi, that's used here. الشهر الحرام bi الشهر الحرام. The bi that's used here means with or for. The restricted month with the restricted month, indicating that they are coming one after the other. So again, this indicates that these restricted months are consecutive. Another thing I want to point out for you guys is that these restricted months are actually during the Hajj season. Okay, they are during the Hajj season. Let me go here. Right here, 2189. So the way we can understand that these restricted months are during the Hajj season is to simply look at the context of various passages. Surah 2 verse 189. They ask you about the crescents. Now keep in mind, I don't agree with crescents here. I do invite you guys to watch my video titled The Ahilla According to the Quran. The Ahilla is something entirely different, nothing to do with crescent moons. They ask you about the Ahilla, say they are timetables for the people and the Hajj. So the topic here is about the Hajj. And as we read through the remainder of the passage, we'll come back to verse 194, which says, Ash-Shahr al-Haram bish-Shahr al-Haram, the restricted month with the restricted month, indicating that during the Hajj season, we have the restricted months that are with it. And again, the surrounding passage, which also still talks about Hajj. So this indicates that the restricted months are consecutive and they happen during the time of the Hajj season. Now, the question is, why do we not see the names of these restricted months in the Quran? After all, the Quran is fully detailed. And the answer is because we're not fully understanding what the Hajj is. You see, when we study the topic of Hajj in the Quran, we will see that the Hajj is actually not bound by a geographic location. So the Hajj technically can happen anywhere on earth. Okay? And it can be repeated anywhere else on earth. It can be in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, in Africa, wherever, Australia, wherever. The Hajj is not bounded by a geographic location, and thus the restricted months will change based off of those geographic location. Every time we read about the Hajj in the Quran, it is addressing an-nas, humanity, the people. Not the believers exclusively, not the Muslims exclusively, but an-nas, all people. This is because during the Hajj season, all people from various backgrounds, from various ideologies, religions, ethnic backgrounds, and so on, they all can go and converge into that area where no fighting is allowed and no hunting is allowed. So they can all converge to that area, and again, it can happen anywhere on earth. Thus, the Hajj, the restricted months, will vary depending on that geographic location. And this is why in another part of the Quran, where God says, Al-Hajj ashhurun ma'lumat, the Hajj is during specific months, known months. And again, the Quran doesn't point out what those known months are. It's known to the society, to the culture of that area. Okay? So it's not about just, the traditional understanding it's in Saudi Arabia and so on. No, it's anywhere on earth. I do talk about this, the concept of Hajj and some of the association with restricted months in my video about Hajj. And I do invite you guys to watch that. Other than that, I hope this is clear enough as to what the restricted months are according to the Quran. Wassalamu alaikum.